So as we traditionally do, NGO CSW style, please introduce yourself in the chat, and we're gonna keep ourselves muted, but please feel free to put your name and greetings in the chat. But we are really pleased to have all of you here. Thank you so much. And we're gonna just jump right in. I know we still have, I think most of the participants are in, so I'm gonna just start. I really, really appreciate the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, who has, been collaborating with the NGO Committee on the Status of Women in New York for the last 3 years. Actually, we started even before that, before COVID, but it didn't materialize because that CSW, as you know, in 2020 was canceled, or whatever. So we couldn't do it, but we really appreciate this opportunity because I'm sure all of you are very familiar with CSW and what those acronyms mean. Commission on the Status of Women. I'm just confirming that everyone knows that. But then there's all the other acronyms of all the other gender mechanisms and the EDVAW. I'm sure, CEDAW, and for many of us, it's still like just strange acronyms. And I think that's why this briefing is so important for all of us. And as you know, during CSW, we do get gender experts and special, oh my gosh, I blanked. But we have experts that come in and give reports. And so this was initially an opportunity to seize that moment and to meet with them. And even for them, I think they're not always in the same room together, and as they're living in different places. So this is definitely a unique opportunity, and thank you again for being here. And Ilona, thank you very much for you and all of your team and the efforts you made to put together this amazing program. We are just so excited about it. So thank you. I pass it to Ilona.
Thank you very much, Ivy, and thank you to you for bringing all these 184 participants together. This is fantastic. Very, very happy to have such a good turnout. I welcome you here on the behalf of the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. As Ivy said, we have been co-organizing with her team these briefings for the past 3 years. And we are also the United Nations organization which supports all the three global mechanisms which are part of EDVAW. You will hear more about EDVAW, especially towards the end of the day, when the current EDVAW chairs, CEDAW and MESECVI, will lead in our last session. So I just want to welcome you and thank you for being with us. As I said, we support the EDVAW mechanism. We are very excited to say that we will be launching a new EDVAW website on the 7th of March, and we will send you the links when it's ready. And we have a lot of things to cover today. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go directly into doing a presentation about special procedures. So I will explain a little bit in general what special procedures do, and then you will have a chance to hear more from the experts of the special procedures. First from the working group and ask them questions, and then from the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls. So let me start with the presentation. I will share my screen, and hopefully, if there is, please someone flag to me in speaking, not in because I can only see my screen right now, nothing else. So please,
I'll let you know, Ilona, when it comes up. Right now, yeah,
it's not there.
Not yet, no.
Oh, that's strange. It should be.
Make sure you click the green share your screen button.
I did. But okay, so it's not there. I do. So I'm not sure. I have it on.
Oh.
You cannot see my screen still?
Maybe stop sharing and then restart.
Yeah, I keep clicking on it.
Ilona,
Okay.
also you can alternatively just email it to us, and then we can we'll do the slide sharing.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. Yeah, it seems it's not working for some reason. So I'm just gonna email it quickly to EDVAW, or I put it in a, well, it might not work. In a chat is better, or in the...
You can email it and then, yeah.
Okay, so I'm emailing it quickly. Sorry, colleagues, for this technical. You can just enjoy chatting in the chat in the meantime.
I think someone's saying the host has to allow Ilona to share the screen, which may have already been done. I don't know, but just sharing in case it's useful.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Ilona is a co-host.
I have sent the presentation, and I will start with the presentation while colleagues will share the screen as soon as possible. If there is an issue, please let me know, because I'll just be looking at my own screen, so I cannot see you. So I want to explain a little bit about the special procedures, what they are. So they are independent human rights experts, and they were established and renewed by resolutions of the United Nations Human Rights Council. And they either address specific country situation or thematic issues. The special procedures is the generic name, but they have different titles: special rapporteurs, independent experts, or members of the working groups. But they all have equal status. They're usually appointed for, they are appointed for a maximum of 6 years. They can, first it's 3 years, and they can be renewed for 3 more years. And they are appointed on the basis of their expertise and experience. They act in their personal capacity, so they're not UN staff members. They are not paid by the United Nations or anyone else. They do not represent or hold any positions within any government or any other entity. They are based in their home country or in the country where they work. I've just realized that I have introduced myself in the beginning as a OHCHR staff member, and I forgot to say that I'm also secretary of the working group on discrimination, again women and girls. So let me add that. And back to our experts, who, as I just said, work basically in their free time for no remuneration, and so it's really intense work, and it is amazing what they are able to do. We currently have 46 thematic mandates and 14 country mandates. Mandate is basically established in a resolution, and it could be...
Can you see it, Ilona? Is it shared? Can you see the presentation? Or is it, no?
I'm using my own...
Yes, I mean, we, at least the rest of us, I think, can.
We can see it.
I can see it, Ivy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. So the mandate, so originally there's a resolution establishing the mandate, but it could be broadened by subsequent resolutions. Sometimes basically the states are a bit timid, and they start, for example, they don't allow the special rapporteur already from the beginning to report to the General Assembly, but maybe in a subsequent resolution they might give them the mandate to report also to General Assembly in addition to Human Rights Council. So basically, but the mandate means that the experts can only do what the resolution entitles them to do. Yeah, and they have a code of conduct, which was also established by Human Rights Council resolution, and they have to respect it. So they are independent, but they work within the framework of their resolution and the code of conduct. I will explain a little bit their main functions, which relate to research, reports, awareness raising, media engagement, and then monitoring through country visits and through communications. In terms of research, they're requested to present thematic annual reports to the Human Rights Council and usually to the General Assembly as well. So they undertake research on specific theme or a phenomenon in relation to their mandates. They do this at their own initiative and according to their thematic priorities. when it comes to awareness raising, they attend activities which are organized by governments, civil society, professional associations, United Nations, and other stakeholders. And this is to raise awareness about the mandate, create and strengthen partnerships, and learn about new developments. Mandate holders may also issue joint or individual media statements and press releases, and they do so particularly following country visits and during the Human Rights Council or the General Assembly, but also whenever a situation so requires. Country visits are a great tool and an opportunity for all actors. Each special procedures normally can have 2 country visits per year, but this is upon invitation from the government. So some countries have issued standing invitations, actually quite a lot of them have, and this means that in theory, they should allow any special procedure to come anytime, but we still do have to make a request and they have to confirm, and sometimes this can take a very long time. With other countries who have not issued the standing invitation, we do actually have to request. If maybe colleagues can mute themselves who are not, so I can continue. So as I said, these country visits are a great opportunity because they create momentum on a specific human rights issue and visibility of the thematic area. And they provide opportunity for change. And the country can benefit from the expertise of the mandate holder, and we can also provide some technical cooperation. It is also an opportunity to raise some concerns, but also to highlight good practices in international fora. It is always good to do both, so that the country visits can be done in a constructive manner. Then the next tool is communications. So the experts receive submission about alleged human rights violations which relate to their mandate, and they can concern individuals, groups or communities, or legislation and policies. And we have different types of communication, urgent appeals for the most urgent issues to prevent death, extradition, and so on, allegation letters and other letters. And submissions can be sent by the alleged victim themselves, their representatives, families or lawyers, NGOs or others, but a consent it's always important to get a consent of the victim. It is absolutely on the discretion of the experts to take up on a complaint or not. They apply strict criteria to decide which complaints they will take on. And of course, it is also a question of capacity at times. The communications can be sent to governments and other actors, such as businesses, IGOs, or other non-state actors. Actually, more than 80% of communications are issued jointly. Several mandates come together because often the cases we receive, they fall within the scope of more than one mandate. And the purpose of the communications is to initiate a dialogue, obtain clarification on the allegations we have received, and promote measures to protect human rights. It's not a judicial or even quasi-judicial complaint mechanism. But the good thing is that it's not necessary to ratify a treaty. We always remind states of their obligations under all treaties, even if they have not ratified them. And it's not necessary to exhaust domestic remedies before you bring the case to us. So it is the most accessible procedure of human rights, United Nations procedure, really. Now, moving on to public communications. So, publications, communications, how they become public. They are confidential until they are published on this public site. You will receive this presentation later, so you can access it later. So here you can look what communications have been sent. They are confidential for a maximum period of 60 days. Normally, the allegations letter are published after 60 days. And some other letters on policy and legislation can be released to public already 48 hours after they were sent to the government. We have a communication report, which is published 3 times a year for each session of the Human Rights Council. This has been done since September 2011. And this report has statistics on communications sent by all special procedures, and then also the replies that were received over a determined period of time. Just to say also, of course, we do keep the confidentiality that also if you don't want the names of the victims to become public, the communications can be redacted before they become public. How now really for you, how can you engage with special procedures? With all these tools, you can engage. For the thematic response, thematic research and reports, you can respond to the questionnaires and calls for input that special procedures issue. They inform the thematic reports. There are often also consultations on thematic reports, in person or virtual. In terms of country visits, you can advocate for the government to either issue standing invitation or to invite a particular special procedure. You can provide relevant information prior, during, and after the visit. You can suggest the places that should be visited, people and groups to meet, etc. Often, again, there is a call for inputs before each country visits. You should be able to meet with the experts during the visit, and you can also even facilitate the organization of certain meetings during the special rapporteur's visits. When it comes to communications, you can submit cases of alleged human rights violations to special procedures, and you can advocate, and that's very important, for the follow-up to communications sent by special procedures, so that the government can respond and act locally. There is a link to special procedures video. I will not show it to you in the interest of time because I really want you to interact with the experts, but you will receive this link, and you will receive a number of useful links here for how you send submissions and so on. And I want to thank you very much, and I will stop here because, as I said, I want you to interact with the experts themselves. And I assume you might have some questions about special procedures in general, but I would suggest that we now move to the working group because our experts also will have to leave in about 35 minutes. So I just want to give them a chance to speak about their mandate. And then when we move to Q&A, you can ask questions to the experts and also about special procedures in general. So for the moment, I would give the floor to the experts of the working group on discrimination against women and girls. If you, I think our chair, Dorothy Estrada Tank, will kick off.
Thank you so much, Ilona, and thank you very much to the NGO CSW team for organizing and for all of you for being here. I see so many people in the chat from different parts of the world, so we are very thankful and honored that you are all here because, as Ivy and Ilona said, this is really an opportunity for us also as members of the special procedures to interact with you. And hopefully we will meet at least some of you in person in CSW. So as Ilona explained, the Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls is one of the special procedures that she described and carries out the functions that she also explained. In the case of this specific procedure, the Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls was created through a UN Human Rights Council resolution, 1523, adopted in 2010. So we are about nearly 14 years old, this specific mechanism. And the idea of this mechanism was to address, as the name indicates, discrimination against women and girls worldwide. We know that it is still pervasive, it is widespread, and that women and girls encounter different violations to various human rights, not only through violence against women and girls, but also through other means that sometimes are less visible. And so states adopted the decision to create a mandate to focus on those structural forms, sometimes not so visible, methods of discrimination in law and in practice. We are a working group formed by 5 independent experts, 5 special rapporteurs, if you wish. So we share, as Ilona explained, the same functions as other special procedures, such as special rapporteurs or independent experts. In our case, these 5 independent experts are 1 from each part of the world, each region of the world. And today I'm accompanied by 2 other working group members, Laura Nyirinkindi from the African region, and she's vice chair of the working group, and Claudia Flores, she's a member from the Western European and other states. Our colleagues, Ivana Kristic from Eastern Europe and Haina Lu from the Asian region, could not join today, but also look forward to engaging with you. And I'm, as Ilona said, I'm Dorothy Estrada Tank. I'm the member from the Latin American and Caribbean region. Gracias a todas por estar aquí. And at this point in time, I'm chair of the working group, a role with which each one of us has played or will play. As Ilona explained, we perform or we carry out the different functions that she mentioned, communications, country visits, thematic reports. And as working group specifically, we also have developed some other specific tools that are guidance documents and amicus curiae, and these will be explained by my colleague Claudia. And we also have included the content of our thematic reports in an interactive or a more, let's say, didactic working method, which is this microsite that I just placed right now in the chat. And in that microsite, you can find a summarized and more user-friendly illustrated version of our reports. So I wanted to go over briefly through some of our functions to then hand over to my colleague, Claudia. And through these different tools, we engage with a broad range of stakeholders, with states, obviously as is part of our mandate, but also with other stakeholders such as national human rights institutions, obviously, and as a great priority for us, with you as civil society organizations, women human rights defenders. We also engage with non-state actors such as business corporations and others to progress in any way we can to accelerate progress for women and girls' rights, and to also identify best practices. What can we do to eliminate obstacles and to eliminate discrimination against women and girls? One of these tools one of these working methods are country visits, where, as Ilona said, a special momentum is created to actually engage much more closely with this broad range of stakeholders and to be able to document also the situations that women and girls are encountering in different parts of the world. We usually carry out 2 country visits a year. This was obviously interrupted by the pandemic somewhat, but in average, this is what we have done. The working group has carried out 23 country visits to date in all regions of the globe, 5 in Africa, 4 in Eastern Europe, 3 in Latin America, 5 in Western Europe and other states, and 6 in Asia Pacific, including a joint visit that we carried out as working group together with the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Afghanistan to document the particular situation of women and girls in that country. For this year, we are scheduled to visit Dominican Republic, La República Dominicana, from 22 to 31 July, and also to visit Thailand in December in specific dates that will be confirmed. So through these visits, we gain this firsthand experience and are able to recommend very concrete measures adapted to the reality of each of the countries. And we also are implementing a follow-up initiative for country visits to see how those recommendations have actually been taken up or not, and what action we would have to take. And we have a call for inputs from civil society. If some of you are in the countries that we have already visited, and all this information is on our website, and maybe Ilona could kindly place the working group's address in the chat. We also look forward to receiving your input as to how those recommendations have or have not been implemented, and what can be done to implement them in the case where we are still pending action. The second working method is communications. And as Ilona explained, when we receive credible information of violations taking place, either to specific individual women and girls, or also concerning broad measures, such as a certain law or a policy that will be adopted and that may be in violation of women's and girls' rights, or that may be a retrogression, that may be a step back in rights that were already recognized, then we can take action and send a communication to the state, but also to other actors involved in the alleged violations. So we have done this in several areas, such as restrictions to women mobility, women's sexual and reproductive health rights, women's economic and social rights, discriminatory laws and practices, for example, in access to nationality or male guardianship. So it's a broad range of issues. The working group has sent 776 communications so far. So to give you an idea, almost 800 communications, out of which 724 were jointly issued with other mandate holders. So we work in collaboration with other mandate holders, Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls, and also several other Special Rapporteurs and independent experts. And being that women and girls are half of humanity, obviously our mandate intersects often with many other mandates on torture, on prevention of torture, on health, on food, and so on. And also with country mandates as specified concerning Afghanistan, for instance. Out of those 776 communications, we have received around 380 substantive answers where the state or the actor targeted or to which we sent the communication actually has taken some substantive action to address the concerns that we raised there or the specific actions that we asked that actor to take. So this is a good number, let's say, but we also would want to see this increased to be able to impact even further. We have had several positive impacts, which my colleague Claudia will specify, and we really look forward to engaging with you and for you to help us to identify instances of discrimination which may be more structural, patterns or tendencies that may be affecting a broad range of women and girls, and where we can take action precisely because of the scope of our mandate. So I'll hand over to Claudia to continue with our working methods and impact, and thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, and thank you everybody for joining this convening. As I think Ilona mentioned, there are 4 of us on the working group that are relatively new members, myself included. I think we're about 4 or 5 months now. I want to just reiterate what Ilona and Dorothy both shared, which is that we are independent experts, but many of us come from civil society and from academia. And so we are incredibly mindful of the importance of civil society and in both understanding what is happening with women and girls around the world, but also in the collaborations that we engage in with you. And we really rely on you to sort of point us in the right direction, and are very open to communications and solicitations, and really encourage you and hope very much that you will remain in contact with us so that we can really make the most of this platform. So as Dorothy mentioned, we have a number of tools at our disposal, and sometimes we use all of them in particular situations, and sometimes we will use particular tools if we think they're going to be more effective. So Dorothy shared with you that we undergo country visits and we engage in communications with the states. And that's usually on a specific issue that is related to what's happening with women and girls in a state or in a region or in a context. In addition to that, we also issue thematic reports, and this is an opportunity for the working group to really look at global patterns and to really focus on an issue in a deep dive. These thematic reports are presented to the UN Human Rights Council. So far in the history of the working group, we've presented a total of 12 reports, and they have been on various themes related to the mandate. As you can imagine, discrimination against women and girls is quite a broad mandate, so it needs all 5 of us and many more, including our wonderful secretariat and the support that we receive to really be able to cover the mandate. Recent thematic reports from the working group have focused on gendered inequality of poverty, feminist and human rights-based approaches, girls and young women's activism, that's one of our recent ones, women and girls' sexual and reproductive health rights in crisis, and women's human rights in the changing world of work. In 2018, the working group dedicated its annual report to the theme of preventing rollbacks and reasserting equality. So really looking at what has happened sort of in the past and how to prevent those rollbacks. And this has become a key focus for the next 6 years of our mandate. So in our 2024 report, which will be reported to the UN Human Rights Council this spring, the working group is taking stock of these 6 years and setting priorities for the next years. And we know many of you have responded to a questionnaire that we submitted to really understand what are the sort of rollbacks that you're seeing and how we can set priorities, and we're very grateful for this. So this is a major tool for us, and we are in the process of setting our plans also for the next 6 years and thinking about what those priorities will be. We also have a number of other tools at our disposal, and they're a little bit less known, but I actually think they're quite important, and they give us some flexibility in terms of really thinking about the diverse issues and challenges that women and girls face. So one of those are public statements. You may have seen press releases that are issued by the special experts. They're often done in collaboration. The working group will join the press statements of other mandates because whatever issue that they are trying to highlight impacts women and girls specifically. And then in some cases, the working group will actually initiate a statement or a press release, and other mandates will join us as well. Most recently, in November 2023, the working group led a statement and press release joined by other mandates on the situation of women and girls in the occupied Palestinian territory. And the purpose of the press release was to highlight the devastating effect of the conflict on women and girls and the structural discrimination that we saw evolving in the long term. So these are the kinds of issues that we try to highlight in these press statements. They can be quite impactful, especially if they end up resonating within the particular context. And the hope is to really highlight these issues and compel government action and attention. Another tool that we have at our disposal that we've also used consistently, and we will continue to do so in the future, are guidance documents. So these used to be known as position papers, and the idea here is to contribute to the conceptual clarity on a selected area in which there are barriers or impediments in some way for women and girls to enjoy their rights. Often we use these guidance documents to clarify misconceptions or where we think that there's an underdevelopment of international standards or an interpretation of these standards. So for example, some of our latest guidance documents have been on men's accountability and gender equality and on the rights of sex workers. So these will generally be more specific areas that we think it would be helpful to provide some guidance on what really the substance of these rights mean and how states and other sectors should interpret what is really due to women and girls in these situations. Then there are a number of domestic interventions that we have made and can make. So one of these, which is the legally oriented process, is submitting amicus briefs, sometimes called friend of the court briefs in certain jurisdictions. And here, these are pending cases that will impact the rights of women and girls in a particular jurisdiction. And we will submit a brief trying to sort of help the court interpret the right in a way that's consistent with the international human rights obligations of the state and the rights as we understand them. So far, the working group has intervened in 8 cases. Many of them have been on the criminalization of abortion and sexual and reproductive health rights. But it's something that we intend to do in the future, both to complement the work that we do at the international level and the regional level, the direct communications with states, to really also inform the legal processes that are taking place in many of these cases that have an enormous impact on the rights of women and girls at the domestic level. So just to summarize a bit, over the years, the working group has been very mindful about being strategic about its impact. And we've been able to impact both legislative and policy reforms, especially following country visits and through our communications and public statements. The work of the working group has contributed to the release and acquittal of women human rights defenders, The use of the thematic report recommendations have shaped policy and law and Human Rights Council resolutions. As demonstrated by the thematic reports, we have really focused our work in sort of 4 interrelated areas: political and public life of women and girls, the economic and social life of women and girls, family and culture, which is a lot of where some of the more hidden inequalities take place, and health and safety, and really looking at the entire life cycle of women and girls, both in the short term and in the long term, and the particular challenges faced by young women, adolescents, older women, and then, of course, women as adults. We've tried to pay very close attention and think of it's of extreme importance to think of the multiple and intersecting identities that women and girls have, and how those intersecting identities how they interact with the sort of gender discrimination that we see. So really focusing also on vulnerable groups of women, women with disabilities, women who've been deprived of liberty, LGBTQI+ women, Indigenous women and girls, and several others. Cooperation and coordination is really at the heart of the mandate. We understand that very much, both with civil society and states and with other mandates. Many of these human rights violations and issues are implicated in other areas, and a lot of these separations of issues are sort of false separations. So we work very hard to ensure that we are collaborating. And we hope that that collaboration very much will extend to you, and that this conversation will be ongoing. So with that, I will open the floor to any comments or questions, and we very much look forward to hearing from you today and in the future.
Yes, so please put your hands up now if you would like to speak. We have about maximum 15 minutes in order to leave time for other mechanisms. So please put your hands up.
I see Maria Jose, Ana Elena. Do you think it's best to do, Ilona and Ivy? Should we take 3 questions maybe first, and then we?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. So we can say the first 3 names, and then, yeah, they can go in order.
So I see, thank you, Ivy. I see Maria Jose, Ana Elena, and Marta. So we'll take those, and then maybe later in a second round, Eileen, and if there's anyone else. So please, Maria Jose.
Hello, thank you very much for this wonderful meeting. Really very important. It would be nice to have periodic meetings like this. But I want to know if in the first week of the CSW, we will have any side event with you or with the working group. I would like to know if we have the opportunity to have a meeting during the CSW, or if you could put the day or the hour, because I think it's large for have an interact space is better to do it quietly. And maybe one event in Spanish or with translation, and for us will be very important to take in contact with Claudia and Dorothy or the Spanish speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Jose. So Ana Elena Obando.
Thank you. My name is Ana Elena Obando. I work for Equality Now, and I was thinking the importance of probably that this group make this or a position paper or a thematic report on sexual violence from the intersectional perspective. I put it also in the chat. You know how it impacts women with disabilities, migrant women, Afro-descendant, indigenous, LGBTI women, etc. So, and also stressing the different contexts, the context of war and the other contexts, and highlighting also the international standards. For instance, the consent, the new paradigm for the reform on sexual crimes. I think that would be a very good.
Can I ask a question?
That would be a very good.
Could you kindly wait for your turn, please? Yes, Ana Elena. Sorry, thank you.
It's okay. Just that, you know, to give a space to other people to talk. Just this is a proposal for the group, and I support the idea of Maria Jose in a way that if we can have a meeting during the CSW, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Marta Salazar, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Marta Salazar. I would like to ask specifically for women migrants, if you can come deeper in the situation of the Palestinians related to the UN Resolution 1325. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. So maybe we could answer these, Claudia, and then we turn to more of them. And also if my colleague Laura wants to intervene, and Ilona as our team's secretary as well. We have a specific working group event in the second week of CSW on 21 March. And maybe Ilona could kindly post the details on the chat, or it may be even more effective if you could kindly write to her, and she or our other colleague Laura Mariani could specify not only this working group event on 21 March, in which Claudia Flores will be participating, but also the other events that, even when they are not directly organized by the working group, in which we will also have interventions, which are several ones during the first and second week of CSW as well. So maybe this is something that we could do for those interested, that Ilona could send out that agenda, and we would be happy, I think, Claudia and I, to meet with you, with whomever is possible in the dates, if we can make all the schedules coincide. Yes, if we can do that through Ilona and our colleague Laura Mariani, that would be great. Y gracias por el interés a María José and Elena. And everyone. And on the issue of intersectionality and sexual violence from an intersectional perspective, thank you so much. Yes, we take this on board. I mean, all of our reports actually proactively take an intersectional lens, and we do emphasize the particular violations that certain groups of women and girls face, such as you mentioned, women and girls with disabilities, women from ethnic minorities, women who also encounter intersection of sex and gender-based and racial discrimination, religious discrimination. We know how it works across the board when there are women and girls who face all these different forms. And the point that you mentioned on sexual violence and the new, let's say, paradigm or developments, especially based, for instance, on the Istanbul Convention on the point of consent, is something that we do want to look into deeper. Also, the specific focus of violence is developed obviously more in detail by our colleague, the Special Rapporteur, on that issue, and happy to think of ways to work jointly on that, and as part of the EDVAW platform also, right? This is also a briefing related to that platform, where the 7 global and regional mechanisms come together to think of how we can better strategize and really promote these points jointly and profit from these synergies. And concerning women migrants, Marta, thank you. Again, we also, in every one of our reports and interventions, we highlight the specific conditions of vulnerability, particularly of undocumented migrant women and girls. And in this sense, in relation to displaced girls, concretely in the Israeli-Gaza conflict now, we have also highlighted the violation in itself of displacement, but also all the gendered risks that displacement means for women and girls, the higher risk of experiencing human trafficking, the risk of not returning to school for girls, the risk of, due to family separation and this displacement, encountering further violations, being at a higher risk of child marriage, for instance. So we have done this, and this is one of the priority issues, as Claudia mentioned, that we've been discussing how to set the priorities in our 2024 report and for the future. And one of them is definitely women, peace, and security, and how to make that a reality, because we see that women are absent in any and all of the discussions on peace and what are we going to do with the armed conflicts that we are encountering now. So it's not only the violations that women are experiencing, but how to build peace processes for the future. So yes, this is a priority. And we have several questions. I had seen Eileen before, then Patricia, Filipa, Mary, Deborah. Maybe, Ivy, should we take all of these 5, do you think, and see if we have time to address?
Patricia,
what do you think is
right.
best?
Patricia, Yeah, Mary Phillips, Deborah. I only see the 4. Oh, and Eileen. Yes, Eileen was actually first.
And it will have to be the last set of questions. So we'll take this question, answer them, and then we'll have to move to the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women.
So maybe can we start with Eileen that had her hand up before, please?
Morning, everyone. Eileen Dong from Houston, Texas, United States, and I will be attending CSW as well. Thank you for sharing the events. I would love to participate at the joint event week 1 because I won't be there week 2. Additional question, you mentioned about the country visits, the 2 country visits, including Thailand. How can we participate as civil society members, as well as myself as a Global Goals Ambassador for UNA USA, and how to join the working groups? I'm a lived experience expert working with Center for Countering Human Trafficking, the Department of Homeland Security in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Patricia?
Yes, I want to thank you for this very informative session. And also I want to thank Claudia Flores for locating older women within a life course continuum of girls and women of all ages, and not just as a special category, along with Indigenous, refugee, disabled women, etc., which is really an intersecting identity. And the question is, how can those of us advocating for older women and violence amplify this perspective within the UN Women and other forums?
Thank you so much, Patricia. Philippa?
Hi, I'm Philippa Roberts from Hope for Justice. We're an anti-trafficking organisation, and obviously tremendous different levels of intersection in terms of the work that we do with your office, different offices. I'm interested to know, given the often siloed work, so I was pleased to see that talk about the intersectional issues, so really grateful for that. But I'm interested to know how practically on these intersectional issues that we can engage with these different offices, and also what is the best way of actually finding out the different communications, for instance, around calls for information on thematic areas. Is there a place where you can sign up to that so you can get that information through, etc.?
Thank you so much, Philippa. Mary Castro? Mary, could you kindly ask your question or comment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's a pleasure to share with all of you, and also to learn more about how to work in favor of the women around the world. And I am as a director as YMI and Confederación de Mujeres Universitarias Profesionales de Bolivia, and volunteers of instituciones femeninas, women's institutions. And also in my country, in Bolivia, we have a lot of criminality because each day 4 or 5 girls and women dies with violence. Then we are working a lot with that, and we appreciate a lot your suggestion, your experience, and it would be nice to share again another time and to have more experience from other countries to work against this discrimination and this problem that that people made against the women. Okay, in God's name, congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. And lastly, Deborah Sofen.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Dr. Debbie Sofen. I'm a pediatrician. I'm the children's advocate for the Simon Wiesenthal Center, which is a longstanding NGO at the UN, and it's a Jewish human rights organization. and we promote tolerance. I just got back from visiting the Nova Music Festival and Kibbutz Re'im, where girls and women were raped, tortured, butchered. It was just beyond description, I have to say. And I am happy to say today, after 150 days, I think she's the Special Rapporteur, Ms. Patton, issued her report, which did find that there is evidence to support what these women have been saying, and which there's been ample evidence of from the very beginning. I find it, as everyone has found it, so upsetting that these women's voices have been ignored for 150 days, and it took 150 days for the UN to say, yes, Hamas did use sexual violence and rape as a weapon of war. That should never be tolerated. And it would be, I think, a good measure for this group to come out and say that sexual violence must never be used against women and girls as a weapon of war, and to ensure that there is a push for the immediate release of the hostages. Many of these girls are continually to be raped. We suspect that many are pregnant, and that Hamas needs to be held accountable for what they've done. So I hope that you'll join me in making such a statement. That would go a long way once the hostages are released. And you know, I'm not a military expert, but I would like to see peace, and we need to get these women and girls back. And we need, as a group of women, to say this can never happen. We can never condone this. And you know, I hope that you'll all join me. This isn't political. These are girls and women who lost their lives, who were raped even after being killed. It was really disgusting what was done. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much, Dr. Debbie Sofen, and I'll try to address these points and including this very obviously serious and grave issue. And Claudia, obviously, please also add your voice whenever you wish. As to country visits and going in order, if Eileen and whoever is interested could also kindly contact Ilona on the specific country visits that we have for this year. If you want to meet with us, and this is what we want, right? We want to meet with the civil society organizations that are there on the ground. So happy to do that and to organize for these 2 country visits, but also for future ones that your organizations or in the country where you work or reside, you would be interested in doing that, to try to make that happen, right? This is also building the momentum for a country visit to be made possible. So we count on you in that sense for that. In terms of how to amplify the human rights of older women, how to do that, this life cycle approach is something that we will keep on doing, and that we will try to also amplify more and be more vocal about it. We have worked with the Special Rapporteur on the rights of older persons, who has actually adopted a gendered lens on several issues. So you may also be interested in contacting with her, and we try to do this joint work precisely to bring together all the different networks that each of the mandate holders works with ordinarily, and really precisely be able to amplify. So that's one practical suggestion I can think of right now. In terms of how to engage in practice, Filipa, and I know it's difficult because, you know, there's all the mechanisms with all their different call for inputs with different dates, not coordinated. So yeah, it's somehow a bit crazy sometimes, but we do hope that the website that Ilona explained that we are going to launch on 7th March of the EDVAW platform, which it doesn't bring together all mechanisms, but it does the 7 global and regional mechanisms on discrimination and violence against women. And we are hoping that that will be a helpful, precisely, platform and source of information and channel to communicate and to be able to facilitate advocacy and communication with civil society organizations. So that's one practical measure we wanted to work on during all this year, and we have it ready. And hopefully that will be useful for you, for your work, and for us to work together in a better way. In terms of working, yes, with women in Bolivia, again, we look forward to this, and hopefully also our closer engagement with Latin America this year with one country visit can also open more doors in that respect. And concerning sexual violence by Hamas, yes, I mean, we as working group completely agree that this has to be prosecuted and sanctioned, and there has to be accountability for this. We have said so in our statement of 14 December that the allegations of sexual violence had to be investigated by an independent and impartial means. We have also called for Israel to allow the entry of the Independent Commission of Inquiry and Investigation that exists since 2021, and that would allow precisely for mechanisms of global accountability to work properly. And of course, we condemn any and all forms of sexual violence against women and girls, and all international crimes have to be prosecuted. So we have been as firm and clear as possible, and we will continue to be in this sense. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. As you said, there has just been out, it has just been issued, this report by the Special Representative of the Secretary General, of the UN Secretary General on Sexual Violence in Conflict. This is a report issued by a UN staff member, let's say. She is directly appointed by the Secretary General, and we want to study that report, obviously, with great care. This is a bit different than what we do as special procedures and independent experts. In any case, it's a very relevant source of information that we want to study, to analyze, and obviously to keep working in any way we can, and including with Israeli women who want to get close to the working group, who want to send information, provide evidence, trigger any of the mechanisms that we have mentioned. We are there at their disposal, the same as to Palestinian women and girls and all women and girls that have encountered or are encountering violations. Claudia, I'm not sure if you would want to add anything, or Laura or Ilona from
I don't
our
think so,
support
Dorothy.
team.
I think you covered everything, and I know we're short on time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at CSW for those that is possible, and to engaging in the future. And thank you really so much for your time and for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Dorothy and Claudia and Laura. And without further ado, we'll give the floor to the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women for another 25 minutes or so, if we can do that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for having us. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you. My name is Reem Al-Salem. I'm the UN Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls. I've been in this function since August 2021. Time flies, as we say. I'm almost at the end of my first mandate. For those of you who may not know, this position was created yesterday. It was the 30th anniversary of the Special Rapporteur position. It was created back on the 4th of March, 1994 by the then United Nations Commission on Human Rights. Since 2006, as some of you may know, it's been reporting to the Human Rights Council. I am under no illusion that the mandate turning 30 years old is both a good and a bad thing. I guess it's a good thing in that it is globally recognized that the mandate is very relevant and impactful when it comes to working with all stakeholders on improving prevention and response to issues of violence against women and girls. But the bad thing, of course, is that we continue to need this mandate, and we are still very far away from being able really to tackle the issue of violence against women and girls, which, as you know, is the worst form of discrimination against women and girls. I should perhaps also say that in 2022, the mandate was officially extended to include violence against girls. Until that point, it was violence against women, its causes and consequences. But and obviously, we did work on, my predecessors worked on the issue of girls, and I did as well. But I think this formal inclusion of girls is very important because it really formalizes what we all know, that there is a continuum of violence that starts sometimes when or often when, you know, girls are born, and not only when they come of age. This mandate is incredibly ambitious in that it's global. And as you know better than me, there are so many issues that fall under violence, the violence umbrella. Some of them are rather, let's say, long-standing or traditional, and others that are new emerging forms of violence, and I will get to that. So as per the mandate, I'm supposed to really work with everyone. And by that, I mean governments, civil society, treaty bodies, specialized agencies, victim organizations, also the non-state actors, including the business sector, as was mentioned. And it's also broad in that I'm supposed to also work to recommend how to eliminate violence against women and girls at all levels, whether it's international, regional, or local. So as all rapporteurs, you know, try to build on the work that was done by their predecessors, and in that sense, I'm incredibly lucky that I've really been preceded by a long list of incredibly dedicated and competent rapporteurs who have left a mark in this field. I have obviously benefited from the advances that they have been able to usher in, obviously together with others, including the NGOs and civil society. We don't pretend to you know, claim anything ourselves. So I will obviously continue to give attention to what I call these classical or long-standing forms of violence against women and girls that continue to accompany us. Some of them have gotten obviously worse because of so many reasons, including, as was mentioned, COVID, including the proliferation of conflict, you know, climate change, etc. And by that, you know, I mean issues like female genital mutilation, child marriage, domestic violence, obviously sexual violence during conflict, access of women to sexual and reproductive rights, the rights of women of different backgrounds, whether you know, they belong to religious minorities or groups, ethnic, racial, age groups, as was mentioned, sexual orientations, gender identity. And also there was quite important work done by my predecessor on, you know, other forms of violence other than, let's say, physical violence, also online violence and how that is perpetrated. So I very much have tried to do that, but at the same time, I have tried to give also attention to what I like to call sort of emerging forms of violence. And this steps out of a recognition that the patriarchy is smart. It's also ever-changing, it evolves, it mutates, and it penetrates really all aspects of our lives, even those aspects that we may not have entirely you know, seen them in, and I will come to that. So it shows up in new ways and new forms. And I think as the mandate, we need to, you know, I need to stay on top of that. I need to understand these dynamics and unpack them, and where possible, also contribute to the development of jurisprudence around these, let's say, new or emerging forms of violence. So, as I said, some of them are not necessarily new, but the regression in women's rights means that they've become really a new frontier. And that, by that, for example, I mean access to sexual and reproductive rights, access to abortion. But then really issues that perhaps I would say human rights mechanisms, perhaps you know, the global ones, and maybe also some regional ones haven't completely dedicated enough attention to. So for example, the issue of child custody and how that becomes a space, but also a tool for inflicting violence against women, particularly mothers, and how child custody issues become sort of a tool of continuing to perpetrate coercive control and domestic violence. Another issue that I feel is sort of new but also old is, as was mentioned by one of the participants, is the issue of consent, really. And here I kind of try to sit with the question of, can we always speak about meaningful consent or choice in all circumstances? So I'm looking at that, for example, within the context of my current upcoming report on prostitution and violence against women and girls in prostitution. I hope to also look at that, for example, with regards to, surrogacy, and can we always give way to, let's say, the desire or choices of somebody, even if it means that it's built on very strong power imbalances, but also exploitative situations, and where safeguards are really very minimal. I also, amongst these sort of myriad of issues that I find are emerging, is coming back to also look at the rights and needs of what I would say the majority of women that emanate from being female. And as we know, the prohibition of discrimination based on sex is and has always been an obligation in international human rights law. Currently, unfortunately, we see sort of an attempt to undermine that, to erase that, and I find that concerning. So it will require, obviously, working out tensions between rights based on sex on one hand and rights based on gender identity. That is obviously nothing new in the human rights world. There are very many examples where, we see a tension of rights that has to be worked out. So, for example, like freedom of speech, where does that start and where does that end, especially if, a freedom of speech can lead to incitement of hatred or violence. So I find that these are really sort of issues that legitimately come up, and come up also in my space and my issues. And I feel that I can and should also contribute to that discussion. Then I've also looked at issues that have been there for a while, but that have not also necessarily been completely understood in terms of their gendered impact. So just to give two very quick examples, one of my reports to the General Assembly was on the link between climate change, environmental degradation, and violence against women and girls. And my most recent report to the General Assembly was on the link between statelessness and violence against women, as well as, nationality laws. So as I said, my hope is to participate in developing the jurisprudence around uncharted territory, or reaffirm jurisprudence or legislation and standards that we already know. And as Dorothy mentioned, we do that through letters. We do that also through amicus briefs. And if I may mention, some of one intervention in particular, when Turkey withdrew from the Istanbul Convention, I believe it was 2 years ago now, we submitted also together with the working group and the CEDAW convention, we submitted actually an amicus to the Constitutional Court of Turkey. I also continue to try and explore ways to find solutions. And here, perhaps I should say that one of the things I've been working on also with my predecessors is this perhaps new momentum that is being given to supporting an optional protocol to the CEDAW Convention on violence against women. So this is not a new idea, but I think we see sort of slowly a new momentum emerging for that. Like the working group and like many of my colleagues, I would say that for me, emphasizing intersectionality is really important. I've seen that in the last few years, this has really fallen away on the sideway. We say it all the time, policymakers say it all the time, but when push comes to shove, when it comes to really designing, implementing policies, legislation, when it comes down in particular to budgeting, groups that are particularly exposed to violence, be it, as mentioned, women with disability or older women or migrant women or indigenous women, it just doesn't translate into inclusion. or actually giving them the attention that they deserve. So this is, for me, a big issue. Like my colleagues, I also try to very much work with other colleagues, so with thematic mandate holders, because for me, ensuring that they adopt a gendered lens is really a way to ensure that this intersectionality is also taken care of. As was mentioned, the mandate has actually created the EDVAW platform 6 years ago, I believe, and has led it also for many years. And it's really important to maintain this close working relationship with my colleagues, the global human rights mechanisms working on violence against women and girls, but also the regional mechanisms. So we cooperate on thematic issues, but we also cooperate, ahead of country visits. So with GREVIO, for example, I've touched base with them ahead of my visit to Poland, also ahead of my visit to the UK, with the CEDAW ahead of the visit to Turkey. With MESECVI, we worked very much on the issue of child custody issues in the Americas, especially the invocation of parental alienation. And with CEDAW, I have a very sort of almost daily interaction. I would say it's a very good relationship. I wish I could perhaps develop my relationship more with the Committee on the Rights of the Child, though we have met last year, the three of us, CEDAW and the CRC, in a closed sort of strategic consultation meeting, which was really good. Perhaps the weakest, I think, link, which is unfortunate in this whole panorama of relevant mechanism and sort of bodies, I would say, is the Commission on the Status of Women. The engagement of my mandate hasn't been as substantive as we would have all liked, including my predecessors. For example, my predecessor, Dubravka, had requested very officially, and I have reiterated this request to the CSW, to include a standing item on the issue of violence against women and girls, given the epidemic levels of violence that we continue to have. But unfortunately, until now, this has not happened. On country visits, I just want to say that also my approach is to try to visit countries in different regions of the world, so not to get bogged down on any one place. I have, in fact, been approached also by some of my colleagues who are country mandate holders, so country rapporteurs. And perhaps one thing that maybe many of them have in common is that the countries for which they are rapporteurs don't usually like them to visit and don't agree for them to visit. And since my mandate has a standing invitation by many countries, they've seen whether I could, send requests to some of these countries to see whether at least a visit by a mechanism is possible. And that has, I think we have explored that for a number of countries, and I remain hopeful that at least for some of these countries that haven't been visited, that are difficult to visit, it will be possible to visit them. I would also say that in addition to the official country visits, one thing I find very useful are the study visits, which are, the visits we do when we go on a conference or, let's say, a technical meeting in a specific country. And I think all of us make the point of having, one or two meetings with some civil society organizations, but also maybe one or two ministry from that country. And for me, they are very useful because they really serve to build confidence. So especially with governments, I would say it helps them to check you out, to understand your mandate better. And I've had now at least 2 situations where an approval of a country visit was preceded by a study visit. And of course, with regards to civil society, it helps also connecting, it helps understanding the context better. And often these visits were followed by, engagement through letters on specific cases. Very important for me also to engage not just states, but also non-state actors, whether it's de facto authorities, as I said, whether it's, businesses. And in many of these letters and thematic reports, I have also emphasized in particular the role and complicity of non-state actors, including businesses, in perpetuating violence against women and girls and in aiding and abetting it. I would also like to say just a few words about engagement with civil society organizations and women's group. It's really important for me, obviously, I maintain an open door policy, meaning that I like to speak to as many organizations that come from as diverse backgrounds and walks of life as possible. I consider that I learn a lot from what you on the ground are dealing with and are able to relay. I, of course, recognize that we all need to work together if we want to really end violence against women. And I don't believe in the idea of gatekeeping or having favored organizations or shutting out others or passing judgments on organizations. I really like to work with organizations on issues, around issues, and in order to advance certain issues. And one of my key priorities has been amplifying their voices, but also advocating, especially on country visits, for adequate funds to be given to those that are working at frontline frontline spaces, and that provide really specialized services, and that are really amongst the first right now to lose out because there isn't enough funds, because funds are being cut. So the sector that loses out, really one of the ones to lose out the most, and almost the first, is always the one dealing with violence against women. Very important to engage really on issues in an impartial and objective way. So I try really to engage on different countries, different regions, different thematics, and to give visibility to issues that don't perhaps get visibility. So to give you an example, while I work and on Afghanistan and Iran, and I think it's really important, I have and will work very diligently on Haiti, Sudan, Yemen. So all these areas where I think perhaps they have fallen off the map, especially in terms of media attention, but also in terms of political attention at the global scale, in order to also amplify the needs and voices of women. And I try, even though I may sometimes fail, to take principled positions. And by that, I mean that they are rooted in human rights framework, fully recognizing that not all my positions will suit everybody, and not everybody will like our positions as independent mandate holders. But that, it comes with the job, as long as we are able to defend our positions, again, anchored in human rights. This is sort of something that is, happens and is okay, I would say, as long as, there continues to be respect for our independence and for our ability to exercise our role, because a number of us, including me, have come really under vicious attacks, and have, been also, there have been calls to undermine our work. So I will stop here, and I'm happy to get your questions and comments. Thank you so much.
Yes, colleagues, so we have about, we're running a bit out of time, but we'll have to figure out. We'll have about 10 minutes for questions. So we've seen questions in the chat, but we will not be able to deal with those. We will send you replies to these later. But if anyone would like to ask a question live, let's go ahead. I see Cheryl. Please go ahead, Cheryl.
Yes, hello, and thank you so much, Reem, for all your work. I'm Cheryl Thomas from Global Rights for Women in Minnesota, and I'm interested in your position on the optional protocol to address violence against women in CEDAW. I understand there's been lots of changes with the folks at the UN about the interest in that.
Yes, so we are holding, when I say we, actually, I mean myself and 4 others of my predecessors, together with a small group of countries, 4 countries that are forming now a group of friends to lead on the optional protocol. So we are having a side event next week. I'm happy also if you write to me to share with you the details. I think there is a new momentum, including among states. We've had also good discussions within the EDVAW platform, including with the CEDAW committee. So I personally think that whatever concerns there may be about an optional protocol can be and will be properly addressed, but that today we need an optional protocol dedicated to ending violence against women that speaks to the global issues, and that will complement the very good advances and obviously jurisprudence that have been made at regional level also by the different regional mechanisms.
Thank you, Rim. I see we have 2 more hands up. Perhaps we take both questions. So Linda first and then Maria.
Thank you. Hello, Reem, and thank you for your excellent work. As you know, I work with the issue of non-state torture against women and girls, and I'm Jean Sarson and I are getting many more women come forward to tell us from all around the world about the torture that they've endured. And I wonder what the atmosphere is at the United Nations about this. It's really an ancient crime because women have been enduring torture for centuries. We talk about the witch trials, but reframing much of the torture that happens to women, like electric shocking and gang raping, has there been a change in the attitude at the UN about the torture of women, in particular non-state torture?
Yeah, Linda, it's nice to see you again.
Sorry, can we take a few more questions and then we go back to you? Is that okay? Wonderful.
Yes.
So we do Maria and Tanya, and then we'll go back to you. Yeah. So Maria, please, and then Tanya.
Just a minute. Hi, thank you very much for explanation and your important role inside of the UN. I would like to ask something very important to me, of course. I'm a medical anthropologist and I'm working with violence and why violence stays inside of the mental health protocols. And I'm working directly with indigenous girls and women, no? And this kind of the protocol doesn't mean anything. And I try to propose an alternative protocol about violence. Why put mental health? Why put this a stigma? Because it becomes a stigma. What's mean that one for them? They don't want more stigma they used to have. And is that? Thank you.
Tanya, please.
Hello, thank you very much for the opportunity. My question is just a question. Is there any possibility, I am from NWAC, Native Woman Canadian Association. I just want to know if there any possibility to connect with you during the United Nations Commission Status of the Women, and how can we do that?
Sure. Thank you for these questions. I'll start with the last one. So I can type in my address before leaving, so you can write to me directly. We'll try to find that moment in the 3 days that I'm at the CESW. If not, we can obviously also arrange a meeting online. For non-state torture, Linda, we've been in discussions on this. I actually, I think that it's been a long-standing recognition that there are forms of discrimination and violence against women that rise to the level of torture, not only physical violence, but also psychological violence, which is, of course, recognized as a form of violence according to General Recommendation 35. I think this issue of recognizing non-state torture is a Canadian-specific issue. But really, in our work and also our treaty bodies, we do address and raise the issue of torture inflicted by non-state actors through inflicting violence on women and girls. For the second question, you may know that my first report to the Human Rights Council was actually on violence against Indigenous women and girls. And here I agree with you that one of the really main issues the report highlighted is that it's the way we provide information, reach out, provide services, involve Indigenous women and girls is not at all tailored to them, to their needs, to their identity, and also is in many ways still perpetuating neocolonial attitudes and structures, and that again here psychological violence should be recognized more as a form of violence. And in fact, one of the things I would like to work on more in the course of my mandate is the issue also of coercive control and unpacking the different forms of psychological violence that women and girls can experience.
Thank you so much, Rim. I see one more hand up, so we'll do one last question and then we'll have to move to CEDAW. So I see Dr. Eileen.
Yes. Hi, I'm Dr. Eileen Davis Jerome, United Nations Association, UNA USA, and I chair our Partnerships and Collaborations Committee. I'm also a WAFUNA member, and I'm very concerned about what's happening with the breakdown in labor unions globally and what's happening with even those of us who have CEDAW ordinances. I'm calling you from Broward County, Florida, and I know we have a CEDAW ordinance here for 31 cities, but even as we see what's happening with women's reproductive rights globally and the diminishing opportunities for women to protect their own health, I believe that's a form of violence as well. My question is, with those on the call and with the diminishing ability to reach out to labor unions and other such large organizations where women may be a large group, are we all reaching out to the multicultural, intergenerational educators, librarians, healthcare workers, labor unions, mentoring groups for secondary and college students? Other suggestions are welcomed. I would welcome suggestions that are shared by this organization. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you so much. Perhaps just a quick comment. I try really very hard to meet, first of all, with local governments, wherever I am. I've met with labor unions, including, women-led committees within labor unions. For example, in Turkey, I did that and heard about their really great work that they were doing. With the health staff, I found it actually difficult to secure audiences with health ministries at the appropriate level. So this has happened to me now in several country visits, and I agree with you. It's very unfortunate because, of course, the health sector is pivotal when it comes to prevention, but also response.
Thank you very much, Rim. I see there are a couple more hands, but we do have to move to CEDAW now. So I would invite the people who have their hands up to either put their questions in the chat or email us, and we will make sure that we'll send you answers later. I'm sorry for this. We do have to move on. So thank you so much, Rim. And now I would like to give the chair to, give the floor to the CEDAW chair, Anna. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. And I imagine that you can also look at me well. No, it's my pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you very much for the preparation of this important briefing. We, as the CEDAW committee, we were also invited to present our work, but I don't know why. Finally, one of my colleagues in the bureau and also responsible for the working group on gender-based violence against women were not able to participate, or perhaps because she had some communications problem, I don't know well, but I'm going to try to share with you the most important information in relation with the work of the CEDAW committee. So first of all, I would like to highlight that in this moment, as you can imagine, our main responsibility is the consideration of state party reports and the follow-up for the implementation of the convention in all the state parties. In this regard, I would like to highlight that we have a backlog about 45 state parties waiting to be considered by the CEDAW committee, which is quite important issue for us because it's a quite long list. I would like also to highlight the importance always for the consideration of a state parties report and the constructive dialogue, the importance of gender-based violence against women, which is vital for the work of the committee. In this regard, I would like to highlight that the working group has a working group on gender-based violence against women. who were particularly working during the last year in two different important issues. The first one was to offer some guidance for state parties, civil societies, and other stakeholders in relation with the implementation of the GR 45 of gender-based violence against women. These guidance are available now in the website, in the web page of the CEDAW committee, and you can consult also these documents. I would like also to highlight another important piece of work prepared by the Working Group on Gender-Based Violence Against Women, who was in relation with how the CEDAW committee is working on gender-based violence against women and girls. Why? Because as it was mentioned by colleagues until now, it was an important concern on the initiative about the Every Woman Treaty. And also in this regard, we had a long discussion in the CEDAW committee in relation with our own particular position on that. So finally, our decision after to revise carefully our contribution and consideration of gender-based violence against women and girls was that it's not up to the CEDAW committee to define our position on that. It's more to the state parties to consider this situation. And in this regard, the committee has some important issues in this regard. The first one is now we know that this initiative, Every Woman Treaty, is not focusing in a new convention, is focusing in a new second optional protocol. This evolution is important for the CEDAW committee, and it's important to also respect and to strengthen the CEDAW convention. This is fundamental for us, and this is a clear message that we want to send to the international community, state parties, and stakeholders. This is very clear. The second about the possibility about the second protocol. We are really concerned about the main state parties involving in this initiative have a very important lack of commitment in relation with their own domestic legislation and policy in relation with violence against women and girls. So for us, that cannot be taken as an instrument to stop the commitment and the mandate of the CEDAW committee in relation with the convention and in relation with the optional protocol. In relation with the optional protocol, I would like to highlight that in this moment, in relation with Article 2 of the optional protocol, in this moment, the CEDAW committee has already registered 216 individual communications, 216. But we have an important backlog for 56 individual communications. Can you imagine? Most of the 216 individual communications are linking with gender-based violence against women. This is clearly more than the 95% of these individual communications. If we look at the optional protocol in relation with Article 8 about inquiries, the situation is around the same. Most of the 7 inquiries that we have already done are based on gender-based violence against women, and with a clear approach and clear also recommendations to state parties. I would like to highlight that during the last year, women, peace, and security was one of the most important issues due to our political context for the CEDAW committee. It was, we have 3 different task forces linking with women, peace, and security, particularly in relation with the different part of the world, Ukraine, Afghanistan, for example. And we were also working very hard in 2 different statements. One was quite difficult, and it was launched and published by the end of October last year in relation with the situation on Gaza. But a second one in relation with the same situation, trying to have both sides of the conflict in our statement, was launched the 16th February this year, which was very clear and denouncing the situation affecting particularly women and girls from both sides. I would like to highlight also that in the pre-sessional working group in November this autumn, the CEDAW committee has the chance to meet also with many civil society organizations, particularly women's organizations, because Israel was one of the state parties also revised for the list of issues. So that means also that we have the chance to meet also with this organization. But particularly before to have this statement, the last statement from the 16th February this year about Gaza, the committee had the chance to meet with both permanent mission, Israel and Gaza, Israel and Palestine, but also we have the chance to meet in different moments with civil society organizations from Israel and civil society organizations from Palestine, particularly having meetings with women and family members, victims of the situation due to the conflict context. Also, I would like to highlight that something important in this moment for the CEDAW committee, and not only for the CEDAW committee, but also for the other treaty bodies, and also for all the special procedures for the Human Rights Council, which is the lack of economic resources for the United Nations system. That means that we are in front of a very, very critical and complex situation, which perhaps stop the work of our treaty bodies, the work of our special procedures, because this lack of economical resources of the United Nations systems, because the state parties are not pay the contribution to the United Nations system. So I think this is a critical moment when more than ever we need to work also with the global community and particularly state parties. I would like to highlight that the fact for second time in the history of the CEDAW committee, we are going to participate in the formula area of the Security Council during the CSW to talk about the link between the CEDAW Convention with the 1325 resolutions and all the resolutions in relation with women, peace and security for the Security Council. So this is also fundamental for our work, fundamental for the convention, for the CEDAW convention, and fundamental also for our capacity to influence also the global community, state parties about this, the situation that we have in front of us, about the conflict and the use of women during the conflict situation. So this is the most important issue that I would like to talk with you, to share with you. I would like to offer now the floor to my dear colleague Marco Sanin, who is the human rights officer for gender-based violence against women and for the EDVAW platform, representing the CEDAW committee, in case that he wants to add something. Marco, please, you have the floor.
I don't know if you can see me, but thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, there is a problem with the video, I guess. Here we go. Sorry, apologies. Hello, everybody. My name is Marco Zanin. I'm, as the president said, the human rights officer that is supporting CEDAW when it comes to gender-based violence. I don't really have much to add to what the chair has said. Just to reaffirm that the work of the working group on gender-based violence is being very much dedicated to making sure that all jurisprudence, all decisions by the committee were aligned, and the latest research that you can find available on the website, I think, clarify a lot the position of CEDAW when it comes to whether or not gender-based violence is covered and how by the convention. And I invite you to read it because I think it's a very, very, very interesting document. When it comes to the standard work, I just wanted to add that the committee has the mandate also to conduct inquiries under the optional protocol. And that is a very, very strong and powerful instrument that has been used. We unfortunately, due to the budget constraint, where only the committee is only allowed to undertake one inquiry per year. But over the last few years, we've been consistent, and we managed to undertake 2 very important inquiries in the last 2 years. They are confidential, of course. They are only made public after the publication of the report, which usually takes more or less a year from the beginning of the investigations. But the attention on gender-based violence is also has been focused by the committee when it comes to this. And I really have nothing else to add to what the chair has said, particularly because we are running out of time. So may you have any additional question, please write them in the chat, of course, and I will respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Perhaps, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So perhaps I would like to add that in this moment, the CEDAW committee is working in 2 different GRs, general recommendations. One is GR 40 on equal inclusive participation in the decision-making system for women, which is important, very important, and we are going to adopt, I think, if everything is okay for the financial situation. In general, we are going to adopt this GR by the end of the year in October session. And in this moment, this year is open for contributions. You can find also the call for contribution in our website, and you can please contribute. And then also we are working in a new year 41, which is on stereotype. Gender stereotype, and also the concept note of this new GR is also available in the website of the CEDAW committee. So you can look also at this piece of work, important piece of work, to receive also your contributions. Finally, I would like to refer to the work of the CEDAW committee in relation with the sex/gender self-identification, and which is an important issue also in this moment, taken into consideration through a task force in the CEDAW committee. In this task force, our colleagues are working in the different approaches and also views on the stakeholders, and also particularly in relation with a special procedure about the jurisprudence from other treaty bodies and so on. I would like to take this opportunity to particularly express our gratitude for the cooperation that we have with two mandates who are already present here. I am referring to the working group on equality and non-discrimination against women and girls. Dorothy, and thank you very much for your always your cooperation with the CEDAW committee, which is also fundamental. Once a year, the working group is invited to brief the CEDAW committee in relation with your work, and this is important for us, as well as our recognition and gratitude for the Special Rapporteur on violence against women, my dear Brim Salem, also, which also complement very clear and in a very positive way our work, the work of the CEDAW committee in relation with gender-based violence against women. So I think the way that we are strengthening our collaboration is fundamental, and I take this opportunity to thank all of you. Thank you. So now, if you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer.
Yes, colleagues, please raise your hands if you would like to speak. And I think we will, if there are hands, we will again take a few questions at a time and then return to Anna. I don't see any hands for the moment.
I hope my English was clear.
It was very clear. I think you, Anna, you were so clear that people don't even have a question.
Okay. So thank you.
I see some people clapping and there's some appreciative comments, but it seems there's no questions for the moment.
Thank you.
So, colleagues,
so perhaps we can go to the regional.
Yeah, we are actually running a bit of time, so perhaps also colleagues are conscious of the time. So thank you so much, Anna and Marco, and thank you for the working group also very much appreciates the cooperation with you, and as well as with the Special Rapporteur, and I think together we are much stronger, and we're looking forward to continuing this collaboration. And indeed, we should give a chance to the regional mechanisms. So I will give a floor now to Annabelle from the NGO Coordination Committee, who will just explain quickly how the working groups will work and how you can sign up. So Annabelle, please, if you can explain what will be happening now. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to open up 3 breakout groups. I'm opening them now. You are all unassigned, but you can choose which one you want to enter. And let me just put in the chat which experts will be in which room. And then you can select which one you'd like to join. So breakout room 1 is the overview of the Council of Europe GREVIO mechanism and exchange of views with GREVIO Vice Chair. Breakout room 2 is the overview of the African human rights system with a focus on violence and discrimination against women and views from the Special Rapporteur on women's rights of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. And then breakout room 3 is the overview of the MESECVI and exchange of views. So go ahead and enter which room you would like. Happy to answer.
Annabelle, I'm not sure it's clear to everyone how one enters the rooms, so perhaps just say quickly what one clicks on or how this works.
Sure. For the not familiar with Zoom, if you look at like the bottom of your screen, there's kind of like a panel of choices. If you click the 3 dots, it'll say more and then breakout rooms. is one of the drop-down options. So you can open that, and then there should be 3 sets of breakout rooms, and you can enter which one you'd like. You might have to scroll down, but I see some folks are already joining.
Thank you very much. And just to say, we should reconvene in about 35 minutes in the plenary.
Okay. I'll bring everyone back then.
Great, thank you. Annabelle, I'm not sure if I'm being silly, but I don't know if it's because I'm a co-host. I'm trying to myself go to the MESECVI breakout room, but I'm not. I'm able to assign other people there, but I can't go there myself, it seems.
Yeah, that might be. Let me make you not co-host, and then you can join.
Okay, so if you can, yes, I can go to. Oh yeah, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. And I'll just say it again one more time for folks in the May room. If you go to the bottom of the Zoom screen, there's like a panel that says like mute, share screen, whiteboard, stuff like that. Click the 3 dots that says more. And then when you open a menu, will come up and breakout rooms as one of those options. And then you can select which one of the 3 you'd like.
Annabelle, I'm sorry, I don't have an ellipse at the bottom of my screen, the 3 dots, so I don't.
It should be either an ellipse or is your Zoom can be weird if it's not open all of the way. That could also be it. So maybe full screen your Zoom.
Annabelle, maybe we can help them we can help them go into a room. Tiffany, which room do you want to go to? And maybe because there's only a few left now, right?
Actually, I've got quite a bit, but I'll go to room 3, please. Thank you.
See if I can help too, Annabelle.
Yeah, I think I can manually assign Tiffany to room 3. And
okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Toshiko, and I also have problem finding the breakdown choices. So could you put me into number 3, please?
Yeah, 1 second.
So
Can you also repeat what each room is going to discuss?
number 3, Toshiko, and
Yep,
number
if you look in the chat, there's a long description of each one, and then also the experts in each one.
Oh, thank
Trying to think of the best way to get you all to a breakout room.
Sorry, I'm trying to help.
I will ask that you all full screen your Zoom and then look on the bottom menu and make sure that you can open up the ellipse, the 3 dots, and click the breakout rooms.
What does MESECV 1 mean? Sorry. On number 3?
Uri, maybe you can answer that better than me. I don't know what that acronym stands for.
I actually don't either. Just pick one room. They're all going to be engaging and interesting. And maybe, let's see, there's still a lot of people unassigned, I feel like, right?
I think I'm just gonna randomly assign everybody, and if you don't like where you went, then you can come back to the main room and I'll manually assign you rather than let you all wait.
That's a good idea. Martha, I'm trying to find you to move to room 3. Where's Martha? Or too many. Hmm. Sorry, Annabelle, I'm not able to help you.
That's all right. I'm just manually going through and assigning people. Thanks for trying.
Hey,
I
Annabelle,
also
do you have any idea if the PowerPoint would be shared by the end of the call?
Yes, we share everything that was introduced here. Annabelle, I also don't see room 2. Is there a room 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that might be full. Okay. Because I'm only allowed to move them to 1 or 3. But okay.
I'll add some more to room 2. Right now the spread is like 45, 43.
Yeah, you do room 2 and I'm trying to balance.
I'm just, throwing randomly. And then happy to reassign if people are in.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Pretty much. Okay. Everyone has been invited to join a breakout room. I'll ask that you go in and then come back if you would like to be assigned to a different one. Beatrice, I just saw your note. I don't know if you're still in here, but I will reassign you, so. Okay. Is there anyone in this main room that wants to go somewhere else and that's why they're hanging out?
I actually declined my invite. May I please receive it again so I think it was room 3.
Yeah, is that okay, or do you have a preference?
Oh, no, no preference at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else have
Yeah, there's still 36 people, but some people don't want to go into breakout rooms, so
some might
please
just
do speak up.
Yeah. Everyone's been invited, so.
Is this the EDVAW meeting, or is that over?
Yeah, it's still
This is
the
it.
We're just in like the breakout room section of the program. Do you want to be assigned to a breakout room to listen
Yeah,
to?
yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still letting people in, so go ahead and.
All right, I'll put one last call for any requests to be put in breakout rooms, and then I'll let everyone hang out. All right, just put something in the chat or unmute if you need something. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're just going to let everyone get settled after the breakout rooms.
This is unfortunate. I think it was just
Hello, can you hear me?
in the middle of the discussion.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah, colleagues, it seems that there wasn't enough time in the breakout rooms. It's my understanding that I was in one of them, and in some of the others also. You were just getting to start with your discussions, and when we were brought back, I guess we have to see whether maybe we could do that we give 20 minutes now for the EDVAW chairs to do the closing session here, and then we can go for 10 more minutes for a closing session into the breakout rooms, so we could finish in the breakout rooms. Would that work? Yeah,
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, I'm just jumping in for Annabelle. Go ahead. You guys can, presenters can do.
Colleagues, so maybe now we can give once we Annabelle, once we have everyone back in, then we'll give a floor to the EDVAW co-chairs to carry out this session for, let's say, 20-25 minutes, and then if participants are able to stay for 10 more minutes, they can go back to the breakout rooms to finish the regional discussions. That's okay with everyone.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. My name, as I mentioned before, is Ana Peláez Narváez. I am one of the co-chair of the EDVAW platform, in this case representing the CEDAW committee. I would like also to mention and to welcome Gloria Chamorro, who is also the chair of the MESECVI, also co-chair of the EDVAW platform. So Gloria is also with me today and with all of you. And I would like also to offer the floor to her after my intervention, also supporting by my colleague David Stirton. So first of all, I would like to highlight the importance of the EDVAW platform, a platform established some years ago. But I know that everyone knows, but the 12th March 2018, thanks to the proposal made by the Special Rapporteur on Gender-Based Violence Against Women, Ms. Dubravka Simonovic. I think that was a great contribution and an opportunity to work together all the 7 mechanisms in relation with equality, non-discrimination, and to fight gender-based violence against women at the global and the regional level. So in the EDVAW platform, we have 3 global mechanisms, as you know: the working group on equality and non-discrimination of women and girls, the Special Rapporteur on violence against women, and the CEDAW committee. At the regional level, we have, as you know, the GREVIO, which is the Istanbul Convention mechanism, the MESECVI, representing the Belém do Pará Convention. And also we have the Special Rapporteur on the right of women in Africa, and also the rapporteur on the right of women from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. The main issue, the main aims of the EDVAW platform is not only the coordination or collaboration of the 7 mechanisms, but is particularly to improve the implementation of the legal framework and policy at the global and regional level, particularly in the fields of gender equality and violence against women and girls. I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the important contributions made by the EDVAW platform last year, who was leading by Dorothy Estrada as chair of the working group on equality and non-discrimination against women and girls, but also as the chair of the EDVAW platform. Some of the main contributions made by the EDVAW platform last year was in relation with for first time, joint statement on the situation of the girl, linking with the International Day of the Girl. The second main contribution was also other statement in relation with the International Day of the Women, which was not joined by all the 7 mechanisms, but most of them. And also, I would like to highlight that the EDVAW platform also joined the statement in relation with the UN Women statement in relation with the 25th November, which was also very, very important. But particularly, I would like to highlight the main progress made last year with our colleagues in relation with the EDVAW platform, and having a particularly website, and also working in the contents of the website for the EDVAW platform, which was really very important. As it was mentioned already, also the briefing that we did last year with you civil society organization before to the CSW was also a reference and very important contribution for our visibility and our work. Now for 2024, as it was mentioned, we have a co-chair presidency for a co-presidency for the EDVAW platform. This is an important initiative, having together the coordination between a global mechanism, which is in this case the CEDAW committee, and a regional mechanism, which is the case of MESECVI. Later, Gloria will tell us why it's so important also this co-presidency for the MESECVI mechanism, particularly during this year. So I would like also to highlight the main issues in the agenda for this new mandate. The EDVAW mandate starts the 1st March, finalizing after 1 year. So in this regard, I would like to highlight that the main topic for us this year is to strengthening the EDVAW platform. What we mean with strengthening the EDVAW platform, we need to have the chance to be more clearly recognized by the global community, the international community, and also at the regional level. And that means also to have the chance to meet in person. The minimum is once a year in person. So we would like to ensure that every CSW session meeting will, the EDVAW platform will have the chance to meet in person in New York to make more visible our work, to be more efficient in our capacity to influence the process. This is not easy because in general there are not financing resources. Some of every simple mechanism must try to get the economical support to be present. So, but this is really very, very important. So when I mention also about the strengthening the EDVAW platform is also because apart from this physical meeting, linking with the CSW in person, we need to have virtual meetings once every 3 months. This is fundamental, and in order to identify clearly challenges for our agenda, and also to work directly on the different topics. And this is particularly also important for the whole coordination. In this case, because until now, when we have other virtual meetings in the previous mandate, the working group was available to offer interpretation into the different languages of the United Nations because they adapt the meetings of the EDVAW platform to the agenda of the working group on equality and non-discrimination against women and girls, which was really a huge contribution and generosity of the working group. Thank you very much. This year the situation is not the same. We don't have this possibility, but and this is why for the moment the working language of the EDVAW platform must be English. So this is something that I would like to highlight. I would like also to highlight that for the agenda for this year, we have different topics. So the first one is the Summit of the Future in relation with the final resolution, which will be adopted by the end of the year, particularly ensuring, in our case, the consideration of equality and non-discrimination of women and girls, and also including the commitment to fight against gender-based violence against women and girls. So this is a very important issue in our agenda for this year. The second one, of course, is the preparation of the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform. So Beijing plus 30 will be also an important issue, as I mentioned, in the EDVAW platform this year. But also, of course, women, peace and security. As I mentioned before, due to our context in this moment and the situation that we have, not only in Gaza, but also in many other countries in the world, women, peace and security must be a very important issue, topic in our agenda. I would like to mention also that taking into consideration all this issue, we are going we have in front of us a very clear step, and I would like to highlight the most important. So the first one is the 8th of March, where the EDVAW platform is going to launch and publish the one joint statement taking into consideration the theme of the CSW, poverty and economic situation with gender-based violence against women. So in this moment, the statement is already revised and approved by the different mechanisms, and we are ready to launch this statement in 3 days. The second main step that we have in front of us is the next meeting for the EDVAW platform in person in New York next week, the 30th March, in the United Nations headquarters. So we'll have our first personal or physical meeting in person this year, as I mentioned, next Wednesday. In this meeting, we are going to name and the different representatives from the seventh mechanism. Second, we are going to work in our action plan for this year. And third, we are going to prepare also meetings, high-level meetings, with particularly with 4 important person, if I can say. The first one is the President of the General Assembly of the United Nations. The second one is the President of the CSW. The third one is the General Secretary of the United Nations, and the fourth one is a meeting with the Executive Director for UN Women. With all of them, we are going to share we are going to introduce our platform. We are going to ask for the recognition to strengthening the work of this platform, but we are going to share also with them our agenda and our commitment, particularly in the field of gender equality and non-discrimination, and the need to fight against gender-based violence against women, particularly in the context of conflict. For us, this is really very important, linking with, as I mentioned before, with the Summit of the Future and so on. So during this CSW, we will be also able to meet you, civil society organization. It's true that in this time, it was not possible to welcome civil society organization during our meeting in person, because the meeting room that we have this time is quite small, but for us and this is also why this type of meetings, as we did today, following our examples and the good practices from our colleagues in previous years, is so important. So this is my introduction. So now I would like to give the floor to Gloria Chamorro, who is, as I mentioned, the co-chair of the EDVAW platform, representing as a chair the MESECVI mechanism. Entonces, Gloria, te doy la palabra a ti para que puedas intervenir. Y si puedes hacer intervenciones cortas, mi colega David Stirton irá traduciéndote. Tienes la palabra.
Sí, muchas gracias, Ana. Y disculpas por hablar en español, pero mi inglés no es suficientemente bueno para poder hacerlo en ese idioma. Y bueno, en primer lugar,
David interpreta.
So thank you very much, Ana. I apologize for speaking in Spanish, but my English is not good enough to speak here in this meeting.
Okay. Sí, a nombre del MESECVI, del Mecanismo de Seguimiento de la Convención de Belém do Pará en contra de la violencia a las mujeres y de la plataforma EDVAW, quiero agradecer en primer lugar a todas y cada una de ustedes por su tiempo, su interés y su participación en este evento. En tanto, ustedes son lideresas y están representando a muchos países y a todas las regiones del mundo.
On behalf of MESECVI, the follow-up mechanism to the Belém do Pará Convention, and on behalf of the EDVAW Platform, I would like to thank all of you for attending this meeting, for your time, for your interest and participation, and this event as leaders in your respective countries and regions of the world.
En ese sentido, sé que compartimos un objetivo, un ideal, quizás una utopía común de lograr la igualdad de derechos y oportunidades para mujeres y hombres y particularmente, en el caso de MESECVI, de lograr el ejercicio pleno del derecho de las mujeres a una vida libre de violencia.
We do share a common objective, a common utopia, if I may, which is to achieve equal opportunities for women and men all over, and in the case of MESECVI, to ensure that women can live a life free of violence.
En este año, que empezó hace poco tiempo, en enero, por primera vez hemos, como dijo Ana, asumido la presidencia compartida de la EDVAW entre MESECVI y la CEDAW.
So this year, for the very first time, as Anna said, we have a co-chairpersonship arrangement for the EDVAW platform involving MESECVI and the CEDAW committee.
Considero que es un hito importante en términos de aunar esfuerzos, de producir sinergias, a trabajar conjuntamente y de manera articulada entre un mecanismo global y un mecanismo regional.
I believe this is an important achievement as we work together, as we seek synergies between a global mechanism and a regional mechanism.
Con esa perspectiva, estamos trabajando conjuntamente, CEDAW, MESECVI, Ana y yo, en nuestra calidad de presidentas de los mecanismos, para llevar a cabo las propuestas que ya fueron expuestas, las acciones y el plan de trabajo que vamos a definirlo la próxima semana.
So in this respect, the CEDAW committee and MESECVI, Anna and I, we are already working together in order to begin putting into practice and putting into effect the work plan, and we will be making progress on this at our meetings next week.
Además, en este año vamos a continuar con el trabajo realizado por la presidencia anterior bajo la dirección de Dorothy.
Of course, also this year we will be continuing the work carried out by the previous chairwoman, by Dorothy.
Y en este año para nosotros como MESECVI, y en ese sentido estamos muy contentas de que también CEDAW esté compartiendo esta responsabilidad con nosotras, tenemos la celebración de los 30 años de la promulgación de la Convención de Belém do Pará en contra de la violencia a la mujer.
And of course, this year in particular for MESECVI, we're very happy to share the chairpersonship of the EDVAW platform with CEDAW for us as we celebrate the 30th anniversary, sorry, of the Belém de Pará Convention.
Y también esto va a ser en junio y en octubre vamos a celebrar también los 20 años de la creación del mecanismo de seguimiento de esta convención interamericana.
That will be in June, and then in October, we will have the occasion to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the follow-up mechanism to the convention.
En estas fechas, digamos, emblemáticas para nosotras, pero en todo el año nuestra idea es fortalecer ambos mecanismos y particularmente buscar cómo fortalecer aún más los mecanismos regionales bajo de alguna manera un acuerdo o amparo de la Organización de Naciones Unidas.
So on these key dates, but also throughout the year, we will be working to strengthen both mechanisms, but also to strengthen the regional mechanisms on our platform under the auspices of United Nations.
Y bueno, esto era un saludo breve de mi parte y desear pues que toda esta jornada haya sido de provecho para todas las personas participantes. Para nosotras ha sido especialmente importante, pues valoramos inmensamente la participación de las organizaciones de la sociedad civil, de las cuales provenimos nosotras mismas después de muchos años de trayectoria en esta lucha en nuestros países. Me faltó decir, mi nombre es Gloria Camacho y soy de Ecuador, Sudamérica. Es todo, muchas gracias.
So this was my short intervention. I do hope you found the meeting very helpful and fruitful for everyone. For us, it's very important. It's vital to have civil society organizations participate in our work. And of course, many of us do, in fact, come from civil society. Many of us had been working many years struggling, fighting in our own countries. I should have said earlier, my name is Gloria Camacho, and I am from Ecuador. So greetings from South America.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is all from our side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, our wonderful co-chairs. We're all looking forward to working under your guidance for the next year. And if I understand correctly, there are still some people who might want to return to the breakout rooms for regional consultation, unless someone has an important question about EDVAW that you would like to ask now. If so, please put your hand up. Otherwise, I would propose that those who are still here, who still have time, we come back to the breakout room for 10 minutes or so to do a wrap up in the breakout rooms. If Annabelle could help us again open the breakout rooms, and otherwise we'll thank you all so much for earlier participation, and we look forward to various I think there was a lot of ideas today about how we can all cooperate in the future, and so we are looking forward to putting into practice. So Annabelle, please, yeah, if you go ahead, if you think we can do rooms for another 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes.
We can open the rooms, or if you want, we could have one big conversation here. I just know that we had some folks having tech trouble of getting into them last time. I'm happy to open them if you prefer it, but
how would colleagues prefer? Are there any preferences going back into the breakout rooms, or try to have the questions to here?
Hi, I'm just jumping in to say that there's about 80 of us in this whole room right now. Perhaps we can just open it up.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
anybody had a burning issue that they felt cut off from the breakout room, we can give them the mic, and then we'll see. We'll just flow with the, needs. There's Deborah raising her hand. I'll unmute her. Deborah, do you have the floor?
Yes. Thank you so much for opening the floor. I have a very specific question from the breakout room number 3. It was brilliant. I am from South America, and I understand the danger that we women go through every day. It happened to me almost 5 times. Luckily, I was spared. But anyway, I can't remember the presenter, but she mentioned that there is a law of sorts, a pact of sorts that governments are committing to follow. Is there a way that we can see what those pacts are and kind of keep an eye to see if that's even something that is getting followed through? And since we're in those countries frequently, we can say, hey, you committed to do this thing and nothing has happened. Does that make sense? So there's a little bit of more of I'm making sure that they just don't sign something and do nothing.
Thank you, Deborah. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Jean Sarson and then Eva to make their comments, if that's okay. And anybody who wants to respond then can just pick up the mic. Jean, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ari. A question for Eva too, because I was in that 3rd breakout room. When you were talking about forms of violence against women and girls, does that include torture by non-state actors? Have you addressed non-state actor torture? And if you have, do you have examples of any of those situations? Thank you, Eva.
Go ahead.
If you allow me, should I respond to this first? So for the ones that did not join group number 3, my name is Eva Villarreal, and I do work for the follow-up mechanism to the Belém do Pará Convention. I have just shared a couple of resources. One of them is the last one is the country monitoring webpage. So there you're going to find a list of countries. So you're going to see the flag, and you can attach the country that you are interested in evaluating. There you're going to find every national report that we have done in that country. You can check also the response from the country, and then you see the analysis.
What you said to me was not very clear, though.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah.
you can talk to my office on your way home.
Okay, we're gonna mute people. I'm sorry, Eva. Please
office.
mute yourselves. Go ahead.
Thank you. So there you are going to find the information from the response from the state, the report made by the experts, which I have to say that is never made by the same country experts. So the expert from Guatemala, I'm just saying an example, but is going to make the country report for Mexico and things like that. So it's in order to guarantee the independence, the experts work in different subgroups. So I'm sorry because I couldn't finish. I thought that we had 10 more minutes. I had 3 more slides, and I was going to present how can the civil society participate into the mechanism. So where do you have to register, everything like that. I just shared this. I'm going to share this now again, so you can access our webpage and see the role of the civil society, what can you do, how can you participate, and also you can download the guide and see how can you participate. Otherwise, you just write to us, to me, to my colleagues. I'm also going to write down the our emails, so the MESECVI email, my personal email, so we can help you in that, which is very, and I have to say that it's a tedious process, but once you are in, it's yours forever. So you can, from that moment on, participate in every aspect of the MESECVI, but also anything related to the Organization of American States. So you can also participate in trafficking on women group, if that's your interest. You can also participate in the summits of the Americas. So it's also going to be useful for you if you want to be involved in other sectors as well from the Organization of American States. And we have not worked specifically on torture by non-state actors. We have only mentioned what the rapporteur on torture has delivered sometimes, saying that violence against women is torture. We have repeated words from others, but we have not worked specifically on that. Maybe that's something that we could take into account now that we're going to work on access to justice. Maybe we can address this, and if you want to share your work with us as well, I invite you to send us an email. Maybe we can think about addressing this in our new strategic plan. Thank you.
Do we have your email in the chat?
Right now.
Okay. Thank you, Eva. I'm from Canada, and I know we don't belong, but there are women all over this planet. We all belong together, so we can help each other. I will send you some of our work. Thank you very much.
You. And excuse me, Canada does not belong yet.
I know.
But we are like really, we're willing that Canada signs or ratifies the convention. It's the 30th year. It's time.
Thank you all.
Thank
Ivy,
you.
would you like to make a closing comments? It's 12:07, but it's up to you if you want to take more questions.
Yes, thank you, Hudi and Annabelle, for all your support on this briefing, and Ilona and all the experts. Thank you so very much. Was there anything else that you would like to say, Ilona? I would like to give you the mic too.
No, thank you. I've already basically given my thanks to everyone, my closing remarks a few minutes ago. So all good on my side.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And we hope to continue this relationship and these briefings into the future. They're definitely well appreciated, as you can see in all the comments in the chat. And thank you for those who have stuck around to the very end. But we will make the recording and all the resources available to everyone, as we have in years past. So thank you again, and be safe. Take care, and see you CSW. Thank